And here's what's happening at Utopia Farms today. Lambs from the January group are now officially weaned. All the sheep in this barn are technically out of season. If you breed out of season, your lambing ratio will go down. Let's get started. Weaning day is official. All the Dorset ewes now are heading out to the other barn without their lambs. Okay, we're gonna be moving all the sheep around today. These are the weaned Suffolk ewes, the ones that are gonna be staying on here. We got May in the other pen here. She was with the Suffolks, but she can stay there for now as we move the Suffolks over. We've sold most of this group of Dorset ewes. Just a few are going to be staying, like Angel. Okay, so now he's putting the Suffolks on that side. It's always interesting to watch how people work, how you do things the same and how you do things differently. Come on, you guys. Causes a lot of grief. They didn't want to go around the corner. Now we're gonna get the lambs. Okay, now this whole group is going back to the barn they came from. Okay, the lambs also were very difficult to get in. And you'd think they know this barn really well. But they don't want to change, eh? These Suffolks, I'm expecting, will go to the other barn real easy. That's the good thing about moving experienced sheep. They know exactly what they're doing. They didn't want to go to a different pen, but they do like this barn. We're going to put a dividing wall up because, like I said, a lot of those Dorset ewes are going to have to be sorted again because someone's going to take them all. And way easier to sort through one little group than a whole big group. And you have to be careful in this barn because there's a ridge where he took the manure out, and it's an ankle breaker for the humans. I guess for the Suffolks too. Get out. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. Okay, so all the lambs from the January group are now officially weaned. The mums are dried off. They've gone to another barn where they're going to be getting drier hay. All these lambs will now get back on nice second or third cut hay. And until we separate the boys from the girls, which hopefully is going to be tomorrow, we're just going to let these guys have free range of the entire barn. So Arnie's taking the back dividing wall down. And now these guys will have a U-shaped entire barn to run free until we get them sorted. Okay, so they're going to discover that they can go either side now. That's something new. And we'll see how they make out. We'll see how Peggy does with her 3 legs in here without her mom. Mentioning that later there's going to be quite the lamb races in this barn. Because they're a little crowded in the other barn, but this barn they have lots of space. The chute is still in the original position we had it before. It worked for the ewes because it was a smaller group, but sorting these sheep, it may not work in that position. He may have to move it back. We'll see what he does. So any rams you see with red dots on them like that, they're ones that we put holds on. 2 dots mean they're twins. will get their mind off things and make them think that they're living in the lap of luxury now. How you doing here? What do you think? Hi, buddy. Hi. Is this a good barn? It could be a really nice barn for you. Yeah, lots of running in here. Oh, you're a good boy. Just like your dad. Yeah, I like your dad. You're a good boy. Oh, and you too. Hello there. Hi. I'm guessing sorting these lambs is going to be more difficult than we thought too, because we gotta get them all around the corner and through the chute. Once they're in their catch pen, it'll be okay. But getting them to go in the catch pen, I can see is going to be a real challenge. But it's quieting down now as they see the new hay. Hi, buddy. So these lambs are all 3 to 4 months old. Like some will just be hitting the 4-month mark. They're a little amazed by Benny there. There. It's amazing what food does for making things go a little more quiet. And then once they're sorted into boy-girl groups, the girls will all be getting their Glamvac 6 shot, as will all the rams who we think may make the keeper pen. Hi, buddy. What are you doing? Was that good hay? Hi, sweetheart. Moses, you're a good boy. You really are getting to be like your dad. And people talk about not keeping singles and preferring to keep twins, because they say that a single is obviously going to be a lot bigger and stuff, and they're concerned about singles maybe only producing singles in the future. But I can tell you from our experience, we have had rams like Gladiator, who's a triplet, and we've had twins, and we've had single rams. And we've held back single ewes, triplet ewes, single ewes. And we don't find what the sire or dam is makes any difference with whether you have twins or triplets or singles. And it's just from our experience and from what we've watched and from looking at our records over the last 25 years. And one thing I find is consistent is your breed type definitely will determine lambs for sure. Like if you have a really prolific breed, then you're more likely to have more twins, and other breeds are more likely to have singles. But that being said, the thing that we find that influences the twin, triplet, single thing more than anything is, well, two things, I guess. One is time of year for breeding, and I'm talking about natural breeding. I'm not talking about adding hormones because that's a whole nother story. I'm just talking about natural breeding. So, for instance, Moses here was one of the first lambs born, and he was technically, for a Suffolk, bred out of season. And to be honest, all the sheep in this barn are technically out of season. Sheep naturally want to have lambs in the spring. So spring lambing is when sheep want to have babies, because in nature, in the northern hemisphere, that's when we have available grass. So you would think that the ewes have their lambs, and when the lambs are born, they've got a fresh supply of food. That's natural because, as you can see outside, it's green. And it's May 1st today. But we lamb in the wintertime. That is out of season for sure for Suffolks, and we don't use cedars. And if you breed out of season, your lambing ratio will go down. So this January group of Suffolks, for instance, I would have to check my records, but they would definitely have had way less triplets than the second half of our lambing, which was now starting to go into season. So one thing that it affects how many lambs you have most, we find, is the time of year you breed them. So if you're breeding to have spring babies, that's when you're the most likely to have the most multiples. Likewise, when we used to do fall lambing, we were breeding way out of season then. Not very many breeds will breed to have lambs in the fall because they're going into winter. It's not natural. There's no food source for them unless you're in an artificial environment like these barns. And at that time of year, our Dorsets were averaging, without cedars, 1.3 lambs. Those same ewes, bred more in season, averaged 1.78. That's a big difference. That was the reason when we decided to maybe try to make our life more simple by not having so many lambings. Although we loved the fall lambing because the weather was just fantastic, the reason we stopped was because it was the same amount of labor with way less lambs. So it just wasn't profitable if we had to cut a group out and go just once a year. So we kept the ones that are lambing at this time of year just to boost our ratio a bit and to justify losing a breeding group in the fall. And that's why all these stragglers now that we're having are having twins and triplets, because they're right in season. And yeah, that's just what we find. The other thing that makes a big difference is the age of the sheep. So first timers, no matter what time of year, generally will have more singles than multiples. And usually as sheep get older, they're at the end of their lifespan, they will generally revert back to singles as well. And the rest of the time they should be having, like, twins would be the norm for us, or 1.8 is generally where we're at for our sheep. And as for, being a single, twin, triplet themselves, I see no correlation at all, and I think the research says the same thing. So that's why picking out a fantastic humdinger single definitely is not something we don't do, because those singles definitely are humdingers because they're getting, to begin with, twice as much milk as, say, a twin. However, it's not throughout their whole growth that they're getting twice as much. A mother's body adjusts the amount of milk she produces. So if she has a single, she's going to eventually gear her milk production to feeding one lamb so she can support her one lamb. And if she has twins, her milk production will go up to feed those lambs. It's not like she's producing twin amounts and a single's getting a twin amount. It's not like that. So that can be misleading too if you're looking at growth indexes and they'll dock a single saying he got twice as much milk because he was a single. It's not true. It wouldn't make sense that way because, then mums would be blowing up if they had singles on their udders, and they don't. Another thing with growth records that I often challenge is people will say you have to look at the numbers, not to see how heavy they are. Like we just weighed Moses a few days ago, and I think he was 90 days and he's 120 pounds, which definitely puts him way in the top of all the lambs here. But he was a single. And people will say, well, maybe you should look at, I'm just going to make an example to make my point. See this little lamb here? I don't know what she is, but we're going to say that she's a triplet. But we're going to say that she was born like a mini. She was born just 2 pounds. And by the time she hit this age, she had a phenomenal growth rate. And her amount of daily gain was quite high. So her numbers look good because she gained a lot of weight because she was really, really small. Proportionally, it may look like her growth rate was faster than someone like maybe that guy who might be a single. And, well, I can tell you he grew a pound a day, but he probably started at 20 pounds, a 20-pound lamb, whereas the other one started at a 2-pound lamb. So she's also a triplet, so the indexes give her an extra bonus for being a triplet as well, as long as she was raised as a triplet. And they'd say, that lamb, the numbers say you should, because she's got good conformation, I'm going to give her confirmation credit too. They're going to say you should be keeping that lamb as a replacement animal because the index number said her growth rate was maybe better than that single here. However, my argument is, and we have fun discussions with people who come over who are big number people and stuff all the time, and it's all good fun. And we're trying to make a science of it, but it's not a science yet because in animals there is so much variability, and for science to be statistically significant, it has to have hardly any variables. Like it's got to be something that you can't attribute to something else, and it's very hard to do in this situation. But my argument always would be that if I want to have a consistent flock of animals, say this size of this big guy, adding this sheep as my breeding animal, who is significantly smaller, is probably not going to do a thing for me. If anything, it's probably going to hurt me, because no matter how good her growth numbers are and her loin indexes and stuff are, the fact remains that her size and therefore her ability to be a high capacity ewe capable of producing multiple lambs is, in my opinion, gonna be subpar, because appearance-wise, she is subpar compared to the majority of the flock. Do you know what I mean? And it's something that, yeah, I find it's really interesting. It's really not an argument or me trying to be mean again. It's the interesting part of breeding. Like, we're in breeding stock because breeding is very interesting, fascinating, and we're always wanting to improve. And I do think we have good animals, and I think there has to be something in the way we're doing it here, because our animals are basically quite consistent year after year, and I'm hoping they're even on an upward trajectory as far as growth, conformation, breed type, production of lambs, healthy sheep, all these things that really matter. But the index numbers, I see there's a point to them, but I can never agree that the small mini lamb who has great numbers is ever going to be anything but subpar in your flock. So if you're someone who says, okay, she has great numbers, but she has terrible conformation, or she is not up to the standards of the rest of the flock, I think that's legitimate. Take a look at her numbers and say she doesn't make it. But yeah, that's how we do it. So I would always take this monster guy or you over a frail little lamb any day, because this guy adds strength, power, good conformation, good capacity. He's going to make my lambing life a lot easier. And it has nothing to do with height, believe me. We do not want them to be super tall. That's going to the other extreme, getting them super large. There's extremes on both ends of the spectrum. But little May has found her spot back in the manger. She's not happy, eh? She's noticed that Mom is gone. But she does have her spot that she's quite comfortable with. Hi, you're lovely. I can see why I put a spot on you. And you're a twin. Yes, you are. And we always make sure that we do keep twins and singles, and if I can find some nice triplets, I keep them back. I'm looking for the best of the multiples, of course, but some people swear by multiples, so I got to have something for everyone. But he is a very lovely guy, and he's a twin. Aren't you? You're beautiful, honey. So as on every day, you never know what the topic is going to be. It kind of is what presents itself. But we got a lot of movement done today again, and hopefully tomorrow or the next day we're going to start sorting the ewes and rams out. And I've got my Glamvac 6 on order, so we'll be vaccinating the lambs shortly too. So stay tuned. Until then, bye for now.